Perfect. So once again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our PTC Memberships Ontario Tech Panel. So before we get started, just want to remind you of a couple of things. If you have any concerns throughout the membership event, feel free to message either Cyrus or me, and we'll make sure to get those concerns addressed. We'd also like to extend a thank you to the Rising Youth Grant Program, as well as the Government of Canada for funding this event.
Now, as we officially start our event, we would first like to introduce our organization, Project at Conferences. PTC is a Canadian registered nonprofit organization that aims to provide opportunities for high school and middle school students, ultimately creating an environment to inspire and empower the next generation of programmers. If you had not noticed already, we invited 3 special guests to the panel today. Each of these students are studying a specific program at some of Ontario's top universities for tech. Unfortunately, one of our panelists, Adar, was unable to attend as something came up. If you have any questions about Waterloo, don't worry, and we'll connect you to a resource later. Nevertheless, we still have 3 wonderful guest panelists to share their experiences. Firstly, we have Angela, a first-year CS student from the University of Carleton's Shopify Dev degree program. Next, we have Luke from Western University. He is currently a first-year engineering student that is currently interested in pursuing software engineering. And finally, we have Harvey. She is a first-year student in the engineering science major at the University of Toronto.
So let us give a warm welcome to our 3 guests. Without further ado, let's get on with some of the prepared questions that we have for the panelists today. So for everyone here, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your program?
I guess I'll start this off. Hello everyone, my name is Harvey Karata, and as mentioned before, I'm a first-year engineering science student at the University of Toronto. A little bit about me, I'm actually a part of a lot of UFT clubs that I hope to better represent today, and I actually also did IB at White Oak Secondary School. So a lot of people might be wondering what's EngSci and what does that actually mean? So it's actually a unique program that UFT offers where you're able to choose from 8 non-core engineering disciplines. So when I mean core engineering disciplines, I mean like civil engineering, chemical engineering, like mechanical engineering. Those are like the core engineering majors. And so you're able to choose from like 8 specialized majors. And so you have 2 foundational years in which you learn basic, engineering subjects that are applicable to all different majors. And then you have 2 specialized specific years for your specialization. And so you can choose from 8, as I mentioned, and the 8 include aerospace engineering, biomedical engineering, electrical and computer engineering, and energy systems engineering, machine intelligence, engineering mathematics and finance, robotics engineering, and engineering physics, all of which I can talk more about, with upcoming questions. And yeah, that's just like a very brief way of explaining my program and me.
I could go next. So my name is Angela, and I am currently a computer science student at Carleton University and also a dev degree intern. So how my program works is that it is a work integrated program. So while I while I intern at Shopify for 25 hours, also learning at one of their accredited universities. So they have a partnership with Carleton University, York University, and also Dominican University of California. So I chose Carleton University, and while I'm there, I'm also getting a CS degree throughout the 4 years while working at the same time. And Shopify, they pay for your tuition and they also pay for compensation on top of that. So it's a pretty unique program. It is relatively new, I would say about 6-7 years in the making, and constantly expanding. So yeah, and you're still a part-time student at Carleton University, and you're still a part-time worker at Shopify with the program.
Awesome. I guess I'll do that. Yeah, so I'm Luke. I'm a first year engineering student at Western University. At Western, we have a general engineering program in first year. So after that, you fill out your intent to register form, and I put software engineering first. So we also have electrical, computer, we have mechanical, we have mechatronics. I'm blanking out on the rest of them. Civil is really big at Western. And then there's one more. There's biomedical dual degree, which a lot of people are interested in. And then there is also integrated engineering. And on top of just being an engineering student, I also have advanced entry opportunity to the Ivy School of Business. So I'm trying to extend my degree an extra year, as I hope to graduate with both a degree in business administration from the Ivy School of Business and also software engineering from the Faculty of Engineering. So if you guys have a little bit more questions about how AEO works, I'd be more than willing to answer those later.
Okay, so moving on to our next question. How would you say your experience at your university has been so far?
I go first. We can go backwards from the way we introduced ourselves. I think I really liked Western. I think when I came and visited last year, I just really liked the fit. I think that Western is definitely a very social school, and I think that fits into like a lot of my interests because I feel like I had offers from other schools, but I feel like I just like culturally it didn't click. What I really like about Western is that there's a big work hard, play hard kind of environment. Like we have a lot of fun on the weekend, but then we also really work hard in class. And what I really like about the engineering faculty in particular, because I have a lot of friends that are in like maybe medical science or like BMOS, and it's very like, I don't want to say cutthroat, but in those faculties, it is a little bit cutthroat because especially in medical science, they don't have enough spots for second year than they have people admitted in first year. But in engineering, like I was in the engineering lounge a couple nights ago studying materials, and there's like a whole mural that says like Eng is a team sport. And I think that like couldn't be more true at Western. Really like everyone has your back. I don't know if that's necessarily the case at all at other engineering schools, but I would say that we have a really, really healthy like team culture at Western Engineering. I also feel like there's a big business culture at Western. That's also kind of why I lean towards it because I did get IVAO status. I really like doing case comps. I do a bunch of my free time on PBSN. I feel like there's a little bit of like lacking a tech culture to say, but I'll talk about that later too. But yeah, I do enjoy Western. I think it's, if you like the social experience, but you also like to do school, I think it's a good place to be.
If we're going backwards, I'll go next. So I will be completely honest. I chose to go to Carleton because of the dev degree program, not necessarily for like the like social environment or the CS program itself. But overall, I would say my experience at Carleton has been pretty good. I went on to residence, like I lived on residence, even though I live in Ottawa. And I think that definitely helped with the social culture. I would say my experience might not be the typical university experience just because we also have work for 25 hours a week. So it definitely takes away some free time. And it's definitely a bit of a struggle to find a work-life balance at the beginning and trying to balance everything. And also the transition from high school to university. But it is totally manageable. And I would say the CS environment at Carleton is nice. The faculty is actually pretty big. The only downside is that it's mostly virtual, so it's harder. There's less of like an in-person environment, but I guess that's just how things are with computer science. It's more online, and I would say there's also a pretty big like business and business culture at Carleton with Sprott, but I'm not too familiar with that just because I'm not in it. And just to attest to Luke, I actually did visit my friends at Western in March, and it is definitely a very big like work hard, play hard school, which I really enjoyed for a little bit as well. But not too much cutthroat behavior, not too many like we don't have that thing where your first year you're undeclared, and then I know at other universities, for example like U of T, that Harvey might we'll talk about later. you're not guaranteed a position in second year. For example, if your grades are not don't meet a certain standard, there's nothing like that at Carlton, which I do think relieves a lot of stress, and people are overall happier. There's no, I would say, toxic academic behavior, which is nice. And with dev degree at Shopify, everyone at Shopify is super friendly, super willing to help you out, and just super social in general. I really like all my coworkers in my cohort. We're all super close, and we talk, hang out all the time, which is also nice. So yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, to kind of build off what Angela mentioned there. So for engineering itself, it's not really cutthroat necessarily, because it's like the amount of seats available in second year is the exact same as like first year. So as long as you like don't drop out of engineering, you can finish all the years. Where it is cutthroat is CS. If you're going into computer science, it's a whole other ride altogether. And they do have like less seats in second year, and so I'm not particularly familiar because I'm only in the engineering stream, and it's like very separate in that this is engineering and this is CS, which is more of the arts and science faculty. But that being said, I think Luke mentioned this pretty well, but engineering really is like a family almost. Like everybody takes care of one another, and you're really able to feel like you're a part of a community, and that upper year students are going to be supporting you regardless of what you need. And so you can always feel free to like talk to others, and everybody's really friendly overall. And overall, I found it to be like a very rewarding experience. I love meeting new people, and it's a lot of work, yes, but there's so much you can like discover in university, especially being in Toronto as well. Engineering science does require a full course load, and what that means is you're going to be studying all the time. Like there's not really much time for you to like go out or like socialize. It is just study, and socializing consists of studying with other people. So well, that's at least from my experience. And so unlike Western, we're just a study heavy university. It's like work hard and then work hard. That's kind of it. But I actually really love doing extracurriculars, so I'm able to make the time for extracurriculars, and I find that that's also a lot of fun. I've loved being a part of extracurriculars, so like if you want to prioritize extracurriculars and like do that, you're going to be able to. It's just that it's hard to balance, but overall it's really fun. And I think that's the reason I went to UFT particularly, is because I really enjoyed the program and the opportunities, because I am kind of indecisive in general. So at least being in engineering science means that I can choose from majors without committing to one engineering discipline. And yeah, I think overall it's been pretty good.
All right, thank you for that. And I think that perfectly segues into our next question, which is what kinds of special opportunities does your school offer to help you balance this work life?
Okay, I think I can go first. So in terms of special opportunities that UFT offers, I didn't mention this before, but we have this professional experience year co-op term. So instead of other universities where it's a little bit more like integrated sometimes, I know Waterloo has like an integrated co-op work sort of structure, but for engineering specifically, it's an entire year straight of just like co-op. And so I think UFT provides a lot of like connections and companies that are connected to the university, as well as a lot of graduates who, hire from UFT. And so that's like, to me, a pretty special thing that UFT offers. But more specifically for engineering science, the university provides this engineering science research opportunities program, in which you can basically do research either within university while connected to professors for a summer, or you can actually go globally. So you can go to like, I know this year they're doing the National University of Singapore as the global research opportunity, in which some of our university engineering science students are going to be going there for the summer. And so we do have a lot of like research opportunities, which I think are great. In terms of other special opportunities, I know U of T has always stressed this a lot, but there's a lot of like mental health resources that are talked about a lot, and there's a lot of like town halls in which faculty are very open to discuss with you about like what they could do better to support students. And we also do have a lot of summer abroad programs, which I think are really nice. And yeah, that's just some of the special opportunities I can think of, sort of like engineering wise, at least.
Yeah, for Carleton, I mainly just took a look at some of the CS specific special opportunities. For there is an honors degree program and also just a major degree program. And for Shopify dev degree specifically, you have to be enrolled in you have to be registered for the honors degree program in order to actually be able to be in dev degree, and you have to adhere to those academic standards throughout your 4 years. But the difference between the major degree, which is just computer science, compared to computer science with honors, and with the honors degree, you get to specialize. There are a lot of different specializations at Carleton, and I think the game design one is really popular, and there are a lot of really cool professors who teach courses that are in that stream, but there's also like an algorithm stream, there's a mobile development stream, and there's also software engineering stream, and also the special opportunity stream that I'm in is called industrial applications, which is where the dev degree comes in. And I would say that in itself is a special opportunity. Just because Shopify only partners with 3 universities across, I guess, North America as of now. Before, they started off with Carleton only, just because Shopify was founded in Ottawa, and I guess Carleton is also in Ottawa, so there's a connection. I guess it's only natural to look locally first. And later on, after 3 or 4 years, they started a partnership with York University, and then the newest one actually is Dominican University of California. And for York and Carleton, it is a 4-year process. And like I described before, you work 25 hours as an intern at Shopify, all while studying for a degree. And the difference between those 2 universities and the most recent partnership with Dominican University of California is that one is fully virtual. And so you can work from anywhere. I have coworkers from Montreal, from the Bay Area, from Hawaii. And that one is 3 years only. So your time with Shopify is shortened slightly. And so that's just the main difference between those 3 schools. But aside from that, if you are in Shopify dev degree, you can't do the traditional co-op program that the normal Carleton CS degree would offer, which is just like every eligible term, you can go intern at a company that you may find. And for Carleton specifically, they do have a lot of partnerships with the government and also with Shopify, because it is pretty local, and lots of research opportunities as well. I do believe it is a little hard to, like, it's only easy to find if you have the initiative, if you're actively looking for it. I wouldn't say the resources are really right in your face and easily accessible. You definitely need to have some initiative to go find them. But aside from that, there are also a lot of leadership opportunities with computer science clubs at Carleton. There are so many, and there are some that are super specific. You can really find one that fits you and your interests and your niche. For me personally, I didn't have much time to join any clubs this year just because of the workload. And also I didn't really look into them that much at the beginning of the year, and I wish I had joined them, and I wish I'd been more active in them, but due to the virtual nature, it's just hard to find everything. But they do exist, and they are very nice to join. I'm just trying to think. And adding on to the mental health opportunities, Carleton, I would say, does have a really nice mental health system going. They're very transparent about everything. They also offer counseling and also residence counseling. Like they offer, it's more so a short-term thing, but you can up with the central mental health counseling services. They have a building dedicated for that as well. And you can either do it virtually or in person. And it can either be like day of like emergency appointments, or you can book in advance as well. So there's that.
Awesome. Yeah, Western, I think the really big thing with a lot of engineering or just like Western students in general is that they offer a lot of double degrees. Like me specifically, I have AEO. I guess I should probably explain that. So out of high school, in grade 12, like right around when you're applying to universities, there's also, you have to apply for advanced entry opportunity. So what advanced entry opportunity is the way that the honors business administration program works at Western or at Ivy, is that it's 2 years, but it's your last 2 years of undergrad. So it's years 3 and 4. So first 2 years, you could study whatever. You could study, there's another business program, it's called BMOS, but it's in the Faculty of Social Science. It's business management, organizational studies. You could study kinesiology, you could study media, you could study engineering, you could study computer science, you could study whatever. And then if you have AEO, you just need to maintain an 80% average or 78 if you're in engineering, because we take an overloaded course load. And then in second year, you need to take, there's a business class that you need to take. It's the case-based method, which I'll talk about that too. Basically, every single class, you have to have read and done a case and like done all the work for a case. So like, for example, if I get a case, my name's like Joe, I have a hot dog stand. I want to figure out all these different like marketing strategies that I could use to sell more hot dogs for my hot dog stand. And then you're going to learn tools. And then in the class, you're going to take up the case, how you would analyze each tool and then which one you would pick and then how you would explain it. So I really enjoy that because they force all the engineers in first year to take a business class. It's exactly like that. And then everyone doesn't like it because they chose engineering, not business. But it's also like the most time consuming class because if you don't do the case, you don't do well. And there's a new one every class. But anyways, in second year, everyone that has AEO or everyone that wants to do Ivy has to take 2257. And then if you have AEO, you just need a 70 in the class. And I think you need like a 75% in participation. But if you don't have AEO, you need to do really well in the class because that's the main indicator of how well or how successful you're going to be in Ivy. But for me, I want to do double degree because honestly, I feel like if I just did 2 years of engineering to do Ivy, it kind of be a waste of my first years because I could have been doing something way easier. So I'm going to do double degree. So first year would be general engineering, which I just finished. And then next year is going to be software. And then third year for everyone is just business administration. And then fourth and fifth year are going to be a split of software engineering and business administration, which I'm really looking forward to. And then you can do double degree with a lot of things if you just search it up on the Ivy website. I know a lot of people do computer science is a really popular one. A lot of people do it with economics just so that they get the extra year of recruiting because Ivy recruiting is really strong. Ivy is also like really highly ranked for, maybe Apollo's going to get mad at me because he goes to the Queens for commerce, but we have really good Ivy and like MBB Big Four recruiting numbers, and we have a really strong alumni network too. So that's really helpful, especially within the recruiting process. Another special opportunity is just, I think next year, Western is starting an AI dual degree. So I think if you're in everything but software, everything but software, you could do a dual degree with AI. And essentially you just need a 75 year weighted average. Plus I think you need like, I think it's a 75 or an 80 in linear algebra. And then you could do an AI. So it's similar to Ivy, just in second year it starts. The dual degree. And then there's also a biomedical dual degree, which is 5 years, but you could do that with chemical, mechatronics, mechanical, and integrated, but I would check the Faculty of Engineering website to double check. But essentially on your intent to register, there's just an option that says with biomedical engineering, because biomedical engineering doesn't start till third year, but in second year, you need to take one of the biomedical engineering classes, similar to how, because I'm AEO, I need to take a business class in second year. And essentially the way that they have 5 years is because in third year, you take as many bio classes as you can. So it's really research heavy, our biomedical engineering program, because Western has a really strong neuroscience department, and they do a lot of like there's a brain analytics lab that I walked into by accident, and I was freaked out because they were doing an experiment, and then I just ran out and I was like, what the heck is going on? There's a lot of other like special opportunities on campus. I think there's like, we have, I don't remember what it's called, foot patrol. Like if you're at night, like late at night studying, You could call a number, and then there's going to be like 3 or 4 people that will come pick you up and walk you to wherever you want to go on campus, which I think is really cool. I feel like maybe this isn't a special opportunity, but kind of like the opposite. It's actually the geese on campus that's kind of a problem. But I've been developing an app to like locate where the geese are and if they're like hostile or not. So like stay tuned. But I feel like, yeah, dual degree, and then obviously, we also do have co-op, but it's pretty standard. It's just like summer co-ops in between. But on 3rd and 4th year, you have the opportunity to take a full year long and then extend your degree an extra year. That's what my Don did, and now he's going to work at Hydro 1 next year. So he really did enjoy that. But I think apart from that, there isn't anything too different that Western offers.
Thank you. So for high school listeners, what suggestions do you have for students trying to get into your program?
I can go. I think for engineering, it's not too different from any other engineering program to get into. Maybe a little bit easier. I think if you get like a 90 average, and just make sure you're really good at physics and math and physics, just make sure you're strong at those. I think you'll be successful and you'll get in. I feel like the admission average is it's a high 80. So if you have a low 90, you're for sure going to get in. But specifically for AEO, it's more competitive to get in. I think this year the average was like a 93, but then there's also like an essay component that you need. So you need like 2 leadership experiences and then 3 other things to write about. Just make sure that you have good leadership experience, and especially make sure that you have a reference that can like back you up. I think that's more important, because if you write like a really strong essay, but then at the end your reference is like, oh, I don't agree with that, I think that's important too. But yeah, just make sure you have 2 strong leadership experiences and good marks, and then you're going to get in. Yeah.
Yeah, I can go next. So for Carleton Computer Science itself, yeah, I would just say it's just like any other program that you apply to. I believe the admission average for honors is around 80. Whereas for co-op, I think that will depend on your university marks. As for Shopify Dev Degree, it's like an individual application process that you can start finding on their website. In as early as September, I believe they're always really good about pushing out the application early, because it is pretty lengthy. There's 3 parts to it, and then after that there are a few more rounds of interviews, and so it is a very long process. So I would just recommend start as early as you feel comfortable. Some people, they might feel rushed to start the application process super early just because of like early acceptance or anything like that, but really it depends what you have to say and depends what you want to say whenever you feel comfortable saying it. For me personally, I started it pretty late just because I wanted to make sure I like did everything and could say everything that I wanted to do, or that I wanted to show on my application. And I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, just because, I don't know, in my head, I don't know, the longer I waited to start, the more things I could do. I don't know. That was just me. I think that's just a me thing. But different people definitely take different approaches, and there's really no right way. A lot of people ask me if there's a certain type of person that dev degree looks for. I guess that's kind of a trick question, because I guess yes, because between my cohort, we do have, like, everyone in my cohort, we have a lot of similarities, but also no, because we're all super different and everyone wrote about super different things and we all have super different interests and everything like that. So I would just say, be authentic. The recruiters are very strong. They can tell when you BS your essay. They can tell when you aren't really passionate about the things that you claim to be passionate about. So I would just say, yeah, definitely be authentic. There's no cookie cutter type of student that you have to be. And dev degree also does not look at marks, but it just so happens that most of the people in my cohort have very high marks, but they don't look at your like high school transcript at all, as long as you get into the actual program. For example, as long as you get into Carleton Computer Science Honors or York Bachelor of Science or Computer Science or Dominican of University program, then you're good to go if you're accepted into dev degree. Yeah, it is a pretty lengthy process. So I would definitely recommend doing research, reaching out to current dev degree students if you are looking for more insight. At first, I used to think like, oh, everyone's just going to say the same thing to you. But really, no, everyone has different insights and on the application process, and everyone has different experiences. And I would say just the more that you feel like you can share about yourself. Recruiters love that. Recruiters love when you like think outside the box and have something different to offer in a way, if that makes any sense. So yeah, and just to go through the application process really quickly, the initial application is split into 3 parts. And I would say, the first part is just like a form of interest to share some more information about you. You really don't have to put that much effort into that. A lot of people stress over that and the second part of the application, initial application, which is the computational questions. Those are just basic like logical questions just to show that your problem solving skills and you can show that you can solve some logical problems. The third part of the initial application is definitely the part where you want to put your most effort and time into to craft your answers. That is the personal statement. That is just a series of short essay questions that you respond to that show more about you and what you believe in, how you work, things like that, how well you can work with other people. That is definitely the number one most important thing that you should put your time into. And as for the interviews, the recruiters are very good interviewers. And they also, if you make it past the initial application round, there's something called the life story interview, which is specific to Shopify. No other company has that type of interview. And so I would recommend, if you do get to that point, do some more research on that. It's very casual. It's basically like having a conversation with your interviewer, and then past that, the final interview round is a program. It's a back-to-back interview. It's 2 hours. It's program interview and also a technical interview, but really it is like you don't have to code at all. And a lot of people are intimidated by that, but really it's just to show your problem solving skills. So yes.
Yeah, and I think for engineering science at U of T, it's pretty competitive. I know that the average for the 2020 admissions was like around 95. So it's like grade wise, there is, weight given to people who are, in the high 90s in terms of average. But then again, it's not really like a one formula to get into engineering science. It really depends on your unique experiences. I know that the interview itself is designed to see your thought process, see how you approach questions and problems. And the thing is, there's not going to be like one internship or like one extracurricular you need to do to get in, because they're looking for a variety of people, because there's 8 specialized majors. They're not just looking for like software heavy students or like people who are really good with working with like automotives, for example. They're looking for like everybody almost. So being interdisciplinary, I think, really helped me. But after going into the program, I met a lot of people who have like a lot of diverse experiences. So some people who've gone to like a lot of like, like Stanford, for example, to work on like robotics team projects. And so there's a lot of like people you can meet. And so everybody has like a completely different like life story almost. I know for me personally, I did IB. I did a lot of different clubs at school. And I also did a bunch of student organizations as well. And I also did like an internship. So those are like the kind of things I did before like applying to engineering science. There's only a written application and an interview. So for the written application, you just need to show, why you're interested, why engineering is your passion, as well as what extracurricular commitments you have. And so suggestions wise, I just think, making sure you're taking all the opportunities that you have available to you. I think that's my major suggestion. Trying to do, things that fit your career goal. And I think that's all you really need to do. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So now shifting our focus maybe towards the more free side of your university experience, just wanted to ask what kinds of technology-based clubs or extracurricular activities does your school offer?
Yeah, I think I can start with this. UFT literally offers any club you can really think of. There's even like a hide and seek club, honestly. So you can really do anything at UFT at this point. But since there's a specification on like technology based, I think I'll explain more of those. I personally love to do a lot of different extracurriculars, like not just technology based. So the ones that I do that are not really technology based is like I'm a part of an a cappella team. I'm also on like the first year council. And so those are like the stuff I do outside. But when we're talking technology based, there's still a lot of opportunities. Because engineering is one of those things that UFT prides itself on. I think some of the things we have are design teams, which are pretty strong at UFT. We have the human powered vehicle design team, which I'm a part of. And so basically the idea is you convert like human energy through like cycling into like a vehicle. So like you're able to get to like speeds of like 140 kilometers per hour and like even higher. And so I know that we currently hold the world record for, human powered vehicle speed and stuff. We've also created like submarines and like right now working on possibly an aircraft using human powered energy. So like there's a lot of cool things to look into. There's also the Blue Sky Solar Racing team. There's the University of Toronto Aerospace team. And so for all of these design teams, you actually create something as part of a team. So like you're working to build something and like you can go into all these like major global competitions. I know Blue Sky Solar Racing goes to like competitions across the world, like Germany and stuff every year. So there's a lot of opportunities there, especially extracurricular wise. And like the barrier to entry to get in is not even high. They usually accept almost all applicants, especially like first year students for these clubs. There's also like Toronto where it's like an automated car almost, where it's like artificial intelligence and like the car moves on its own, all sorts of stuff. It's very cool. And also like this is a little bit more extracurricular side, but you can also have a lot of entrepreneurship opportunities. There's a lot of like almost like incubator sort of ideas for engineering students. So like there's a lot of funding opportunities for like companies, and so you can create a company. There's also a lot of competitions at UFT that the university itself runs for students to like create new prototypes and like address different like global issues. Another technology based thing that I know is that like a lot of clubs like Engineers Without Borders that I'm a part of is like integrating more technology into their approach. And so there's a lot of things you can do. You just need to like search it up and then you'll find it basically at UFT. So yeah.
That sounds super cool. Unfortunately, I can't speak much to the engineering side and the engineering clubs at Carleton, but I hope they sound as cool as what's going on at U of T, like Harvey said. As for clubs in general at Carleton, I would say the same thing. There are so many clubs, and even if there isn't one that appeals to you, you can always go ahead and start your own club. And there are really, there's random clubs. I know one was made this year called the Carlton Lettuce Ingestion Team. That one is, it's pretty funny, but I don't really know what goes on there. And as for computer science, there are a lot of clubs, like I mentioned before. The main one is the Carleton Computer Science Society. Super interactive. It is online at the moment, virtual. It's just a big Discord server, but in I guess pre-pandemic times, they had a whole room to themselves and perks like free printing, which you can never complain about, and a big room just they also provide a lot of support with classes. They provide like exam study sessions or midterm study prep sessions, things like that. They run movie nights, a lot of things. And there are a lot of leadership opportunities, especially for first years. They really want people to get involved. And then after the main computer science society, there are a lot of clubs that kind of branch off of that. And there's For example, there are also like women in STEM and women in software engineering clubs for visible and also clubs for visible minorities in computer science or within computer science. And there's also like AI specific clubs and just more specific like niche topics of computer science or clubs for that as well. And again, if there isn't one that really suits your interests, you can always start one on your own, which is amazing. And the like acceptance rate or anything like that, the barrier to get into those clubs, pretty much non-existent. Carleton really encourages you to participate in clubs and extracurriculars, which is nice. And as for Harvey reminded me of this just when she was talking about there's also one at Carleton as well. I think there's a building or a room in one of the newer buildings called the Nickel Building, called the Innovation Hub, where they have a lot of cool entrepreneurship events.
Cool. So that is all the prepared questions we have for today. We will now be moving into the open Q&A section where you can ask your questions. So feel free to unmute or type in chat and one of the panelists will answer.
I guess while we're waiting to get the ball rolling, oh, there's a question right there. Can you tell us a little bit more about the campus residence?
I can. I lived on Carlton Res, and there are about 7 buildings. I would say our campus is pretty small, not in the way that it's like with I don't know square feet. It's not small. It's not across, like for example, compared to U Ottawa, it's like spread across downtown, across multiple streets and things like that. At Carleton, it's all centralized, so everyone is at one place. We only have one dining hall, and all of the residence buildings are together on one side of campus, and then all the study or class buildings are on all together on the other side of the campus. And the Rideau Canal is right behind Carleton, so it's pretty it's nice to be close to the Rideau Canal. You can just, if I don't know, one night you're done studying, it's 4 a.m. you want to go put on your skates and head down. It's really easy, and it's actually pretty soothing, which is I don't know, that's a little random, but it's nice. And I would say the campus life, there are a lot of diverse people from different geographic locations, so you get to meet a lot of new people. I would say there's 2 types of residence buildings. There's the traditional style, and then there's also suite style. Because of my work and because I was constantly in meetings for some days of the week, I chose my roommates to be in a suite style building. I do feel that if you're in a suite style, you meet less people. It's less of like the traditional experience, but you still meet a lot of new people. Actually, 2 out of my 3 roommates are in my like dev degree cohort, with coworkers. And then my final roommate is in computer science, so that was really nice. But if you just went the optional or traditional route and like got rent, I still think the experience is nice. And of course, because like, for example, computer science was online, a lot of people just opted to stay home and save some money, which is also a good choice. So yeah, whether or not you decide to go onto res is up to you. There are a lot of factors that go into that. Just because like my tuition was already paid for, I thought that I was like, I might as well go on residence, have a good time. But if you do stay home, just because of whatever reason, you're not really missing out on too much.
Yeah, I think for me personally, residence is a really big thing. I really like being in Toronto, so it's nice because the U of T Toronto campus has actually 9 different residence buildings, and it's a really big campus. It's spanned across like basically a good portion of like Toronto, like the city itself. For all engineering students, we are all usually put into this one residence called Chestnut Residence, where I'm currently at. But like I'm actually moving out, so that's why it's so messy right now. But yeah, there's a lot of different like residence styles. You can get the suite style. You can get like just two roommates style. You can get like solo rooms. There's also like completely different buildings in that like the Chestnut Residence is just basically like a rectangular, just normal building. But then there's also the places like Trinity College or like Victoria College where it actually looks like a castle almost, and it's like you're living at Hogwarts. So like it depends on like where you want to go, what you want to do with res, but it's a really nice experience. I've met so many like U of T engineering people here, and it's a great way to make friends for U of T specifically. But yeah, I think there's also a lot of like campus events that happen. So like I know Chestnut has a residence council that runs a lot of like Chestnut activities. And then there's a lot of different like campuses and like activities like that as well. But yeah, that's a little bit about U of T at least.
Perfect, thank you. I think another question we have from Hugh is, how much do you have to study? I'm assuming this is for preparation to get in and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, I think you could approach this question two ways. How much should you study before like going into university versus like how much do you study while in university? I'll take both of those. So like if like as someone going into university, so while I was in high school, I was in IB, and so the workload in IB is already like pretty high-ish. There's a lot to do, but like it's also pretty easy to balance a lot of extracurriculars with the IB program. So like time-wise, you're still able to get like the time to study and like do other things, but like it's easy to balance. Whereas I found that while in university, since being in engineering, you have to have a full course load, like almost at all times. So that means I'm taking 6 courses first semester and then 6 courses the second semester. So when I say a course, that means there's like 3 to 4 hours per week of lecture, and then there's also like 3-hour practicals that happen for almost each of those 6 courses, and then there's an hour worth of tutorials for each course. So when you sort of add that up, it's almost like I'm at university from like 9 to 6. And then after that, I come back home and then I'm like, wow, time to work on the projects that I have due every day. So there's like a lot of studying that goes into, I don't know if that's just like a my program thing or if that's like all engineering. But like there's a lot to do studying wise. And so it's hard to not study and still like, you know, remain afloat within the program. So there's a lot to study in university for my program. But like in high school too, you don't have to study so much in high school to like, you know, survive in university. I think as long as you still like remain committed, you can still, you know, make the jump and continue onwards. And I think the best way to think about it is that everybody's also going through the same thing. Like it's not just you, everybody's also struggling. So don't stress out too much and just, you know, rely on one another and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think Harvey said that really well, just for the how much you have to study in high school to get into your desired university program. I would say, yeah, it really, I don't know if for my program, it really makes a difference, but I wasn't in IB and I still, I would say, well, of course, I can't imagine how bad the IB course load is, but I did spend a lot of time on school, so extracurriculars. I know some people in my dev degree cohort who did do IB say that university is easier than high school, but I that is just their opinion. It's just different opinions and different people go through things differently, and it's also about like how well you can adapt. but I totally agree with the fact that the transition between high school and university, both academically and also just emotionally, it's a lot that everyone is going through. And as long as you feel like or whether or not you want to be with people or not, as long as you feel like you have a good support system, whether it be your friends from high school or new people that you meet, I think you're going to be in good hands. It definitely is going to be rough, but again, everyone is going through the same thing. So academically, I would say just hold on. For me personally, in university, because for my program, I have a reduced course load because of the 25 hours a week that I work. If I had a full course load like normal students, I actually don't know what I would do with myself. So I take one less course each semester, and then I have work, and I also take summer school in the summer. I take summer classes, but it's less classes. So summer is still a lighter workload than the rest of the year. But the rest of the year is, again, my first semester was rough. I won't even lie, just because it was hard transitioning between everything. And throughout dev degree, there are actually people who who might fail courses and will have to retake courses just because they are so busy. It really does not have to do with like their intelligence, or sometimes sometimes a topic or class just isn't for you. And so they retake classes just because their workload, like it's hard to manage school and work. But again, it is manageable. Everyone has their different tricks and tips and tricks to get through things. And I would say the dev degree cohort, everyone is very close. Collaboration, like we're basically a family, and we help each other with a lot of things. And I assume that it is very similar with, like Harvey said. And so studying wise, I would say definitely do your studying. You can't not study and then expect to have a high mark. But also, I feel like for me, for a dev degree specifically, the first year you have something called a training path where you just learn the Shopify tech stack. I headed into the program with previous coding experience. So for me, the learning curve was a lot easier. I had a pretty good time on training path. I already had a good amount of knowledge on most of the topics, or if a topic was new to me, if I was learning a completely new language, I already had kind of like the logical thinking behind, or the, I don't know, pseudocode in my head. I knew how code worked, so I could easily get a grasp on new topics. Whereas compared to some other people in my cohort who came into dev degree, never coded a single line, didn't know what Java was or anything like that. It was definitely a huge learning curve for them. And I props to them for getting through the year, because I mean, they're here now, and they have the coding knowledge, and everyone is at the same level. So for them, I would say it's definitely a lot harder and definitely had to study a lot more, but it's different for everyone.
Yeah, perfect. So one final question from Alexis, I think directed more towards Angela, is for the Carleton dev degree, did you say that there are any specific programs that you have to get into, even if you get accepted to the dev degree program by itself?
Yeah, so before, I believe in the first part of the initial application, in the interest form, you will say what partner university you're interested in going to. I applied for both Carleton and York, but some people apply for only Carleton, some people apply for only York. That doesn't have any effect on your chances of getting accepted, by the way. So yes, for Carleton, you have to get accepted into honors computer science, or Bachelor of Computer Science honors. Yeah, that's the official name, I believe. And I would say it's very rare that you get accepted into the dev degree program itself and not at the partner university degree. I've never heard of that, but it could have happened. But yes, so for Carleton specifically, you have to get into honors computer science.
Great. Hopefully that addresses that question. Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's panel. So a big thank you to Angela, Luke, and Harvey for coming out, giving up their time and answering all our questions today. So let's give another round of virtual applause for their support today. Just a quick reaction. Yep. And we'd also like to thank again the Rising Youth Program for making this event possible. And finally, we'd like to thank all of you guys for coming out today to attend this event and hopefully gain a new insight on potential university pathways. So we hope to see you at our next event and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.